All right. So what? Welcome to the 85th episode, 85 episodes, Lord, of the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America, Africa, and the diaspora. I'm your host, Brother Twani Mondani out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of the Shrines of the Black Madonna's efforts since 1953 to build a nation within this nation by bringing our people together and showing and proving what we can do with a committed group of Black people who are really serious about putting that work in. My co-host is the chief consultant of the Black Gold Nation's Political Strategy and Implementation Department, as well as our Adult Education Division. He's also the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster, corporate grassroots empowerment revolutionary, and master domino assassin from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka The Boot. Brother Craig B. Lee. Brother Craig, how you doing this evening?
I am doing absolutely Irie, my first political event of the campaign season today for my sisters and their neighborhood association. So it was on point, being able to vibe with some folks who are now getting in the game and learning how to navigate for their community.
Awesome. Also, do you have a set number of events that you want to try and do per week, or are you just going to roll with whatever pops up?
I'm like Bruce Lee. I'm water.
You're like water.
I'm just
right.
fluid.
I can dig it. So before we get started, as always, let me give you guys a little bit of information about the Black Gold Nation and what we're trying to do. Our ultimate goal is putting our people, Black people, in a position by which we can own and or control the environment in which we live, because we've come to the conclusion, based on history, research, that when other people control the spaces where we live, we lose, period. When other people control any aspect of the space in which we live, any system that other people control, we always find ourselves on the bottom or close to the bottom of that system. It doesn't matter if it's the spiritual system, the economic system, the educational system, the security system, the spiritual system, the agricultural system. It does not matter. If other people control it, we Black people are going to find ourselves at the bottom. And if other people control the levers, the political apparatuses that run that space, that run that municipality, then we are certainly going to lose. So since we no longer want to lose, and since we no longer want to be at the bottom, we are trying to identify Black people who want to do something. So what we say here is not just to inform and or educate. We're trying to get you to do something. We want to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. So every single thing we say and everything we do is about bringing our people together to find the right people so we can build something that matters, something that has power, something that's not only going to protect us and our children, but put us in a position to dictate and determine what happens to our future as we deem fit, necessary, and appropriate. So tonight's show title is The Gangster Game of Governmental Politics. The Gangster Game of Governmental Politics. So I'm going to share, as I do from time to time, and I've been doing it quite a bit lately, share a brief clip that Brother Craig sent, myself, Brother Lloyd, and I'm sure a few others, about how the government and even governments lie to the people. And we want to get into that. We want to get into that because that's very important for us, Black people, to realize that we shouldn't always depend on and or rely on government for anything, unless of course we are running it. But if we're not running it, we need to make sure that we understand what's what as relates to how all this stuff works. And of course, that is the whole point of the Revolutionary Code, to get our people to understand and realize how this thing really works, so we can put ourselves in a position to make it work for us. So give me a quick second to share my screen, and then we will watch this brief clip, and then we'll come back and have a conversation. All right, here we go.
Amazingly, this White House tweet is still up. They tweeted it yesterday. It says, quote, "When President Biden took office, millions were unemployed and there was no vaccine available." And it goes on from there. But as you know, that's not true. There was vaccine available. It might not have been widely available, but it was available. CNN fact checker Daniel Dale points out more than 3 million Americans have been fully vaccinated. More than 18 million had at least one shot by inauguration day. I think President Biden, then President-elect Biden, had 2 shots by then. You're the president's chief medical advisor. Why is the White House politicizing the pandemic by tweeting out that there was no vaccine available until Joe Biden became president? It's not true.
I just can't explain it. Sorry.
Certainly you would agree that there was vaccine available before Joe Biden became president.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he got vaccinated and others got vaccinated. So that's not a correct statement, but I mean, you know, it just went out. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about that, Jay.
Listen to this. Finally.
Poppy said, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So let's have this conversation. All right.
And that same thing, I think, don't they have Pelosi lying on there as well? Or is,
oh no, it replays after that. So is there one? Is there another one? Because
man, I must have.
let me go back and check real quick because did you send it?
I think I did. Is lying about inflation.
Okay, hold on for a second.
Yeah, and yeah, this is the game, brother. This is the game.
Yeah, I'm going back real quick and taking a. Yeah, I don't think you sent the Pelosi one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So really quickly, let's define a few things, and then we'll get into the conversation about the clip. So the title of tonight's show is The Gangster Game of Governmental Politics. So let's talk with that first. What do we mean by gangster game?
It is not played by the rules that are laid out in front of you. And the people the architects, the engineers, and their employees, the managers of the capitalistic matrix, they play by a whole different set of rules. And they're willing to say anything, do anything, manipulate, indoctrinate, whatever they got to do to accomplish their mission.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, as we prepare to get heavy into this campaign season, people always ask the typical question: Who are you? Who are your opponents?
That's right.
And they're expecting me to say some so-called physical person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm never running against. The 3 times that I've run, I've never, run against an actual candidate because I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
Being a grassroots advocate, I'm running always against 4 opponents.
That's right.
Ignorance, apathy, pessimism, and cynicism. And so the architects, engineers of this philosophy, system, and game, they know the people are ignorant. They know the people are apathetic. They know the people are pessimistic, and they know the people are cynical. And so you gotta be a gangster in order to accomplish their mission, because on paper, they put the power of the government in the hands of the people. On paper, they say this is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, right?
Yep.
But you have to be a gangster in order to now create the environment of now making the people disinterested, and you have to dissuade them of not exercising their power. And how do you do that? You have to now make them ignorant, you have to make them apathetic, you have to make them pessimistic, and you have to make them cynical. How do you do that? By creating chaos, controversy, distractions, so many different ways, and now getting them tied up into the things that they really like: entertainment, sports entertainment, music entertainment,
right,
television entertainment. So you bring all of these things together, then you kick them in the ass by giving them access to their wonderful food that causes various ailments, but it tastes so good. Naru and I talk about this all the time, his pursuit of veganism and my partial pursuit of vegetables and fruit combined with some meat, like some good seafood and some good turkey and whatnot. But the point is, through all of these different means that they do their gangster activity in order for the people not to exercise their actual power that's already written on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so now when the people look up and they're not exercising their paper, now the architects and engineers like, hey, all you gotta do is get involved.
That's all you gotta do.
But they're gonna do everything possible to distract, dissuade, discourage you from exercising your actual power.
Right.
And unless you can mobilize, organize, educate, and activate a core group of people, I mean, we gonna constantly be lied to by those folks because they know your ass ain't gonna do nothing anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also important for us to understand that with this being a quote gangster game, gangsters don't run solo. They got a squad. They got a crew. This is most certainly a team sport.
Yeah.
And like you just said, if you don't have a committed group, a committed team, a committed squad, all of whom bring different skill sets to the table, because you need those different skill sets, then you're simply not going to be successful and or productive in the gangster game of politics. So that gets to the next question. What is politics?
Politics is life. Politics is the agendas, whether they be personal or group agendas that govern life. It is in every facet of life, inside of your home, vis-a-vis your personal relationships between you, your wife, your husband, your children, your relatives, agendas in business, agendas in the community. It's your perspective. How are you going to roll on a day-to-day basis in life? Your agenda for accomplishing whatever you're going to accomplish, either personally or as a particular group. And that's why when people say that they don't discuss politics, I laugh, because the first thing when you hear politics, you automatically focus on government.
Yep.
And that's just one aspect of politics. And but all of the other things, like when we talk about those 6 pillars of empowerment, inside of the 6 pillars, there's politics.
Yep.
And so you got to know what your agenda is in order to forge your politics ahead, so that you can mobilize, organize with the right individuals who are like-minded. So you all are working with the same political focus in terms of everything that you're trying to do.
Cool. Okay, so going back to that clip that we just watched about the post that the Biden administration put out, what was your immediate takeaway from that clip once you watched it, after you laughed, of course?
Well, when the question is asked, what does Fauci, who is a medical doctor, what does he do? He laughs.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a part of the game.
Yep.
So he has to now do the plausible deniability and say he doesn't know why President Biden said that, because he already knows. But again, this political theater that's been going on with Trump, which was supposed to help Hillary Clinton win, because Donald Trump is working on behalf of the Democratic Party, or had been. And so he did his job so well, he ultimately got elected, which he wasn't supposed to, which tells you how atrocious Hillary Clinton actually was. But he tapped into something with the white folks in this country, and the deeper he got into it, I mean, I think he's gone rogue now. But at the end of the day, the clip shows you how bad they wanted to get rid of Trump.
Yeah.
By saying just any damn thing, although they know it was a lie. And so now it's coming back to bite them because all of those clips, all that's going on now, they just go back, package them together, and now show that you ain't doing nothing but lying. So now, 2 years into your administration, Biden, you now look at losing control of the Congress. Now, what do we have on our side? Anytime you can live long enough, what do you have on your side?
History.
Exactly. So it was said 2 years ago that in order for Biden to do everything he needed to do, what did he need to have control of?
The Senate?
The Congress and the Senate.
And the Senate, okay.
So you got control of the Congress and pretty much control of the Senate. How's that working for us?
It's not.
Now we done went from goddamn COVID-19 to the goddamn 15 different strands of COVID-19 to now some damn monkeypox.
Mm.
I mean, bro, the hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper. But guess why they know they can do this? What do they know?
People are stupid. People don't pay attention. People don't read. People don't research. People don't understand history. People don't remember. People are paying attention. All of that.
They're ignorant, apathetic, pessimistic, cynical, and everything else that you just said.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that. And so now what happened? The vast majority of people disengage, and they believe they're doing something by disengaging. I ain't gonna vote at all. I ain't gonna participate. Local, state, or federal, all of them are crap. Well, guess what? By not participating, you participate.
You make it easier for them to continue to be corrupt because there's no pushback. And what's really sad about that clip is that it's become such a common thing that it's a joke. The president of the United States lying to the people should be a big deal.
Exactly.
But it's so commonplace now. It's like it's just laughed off, and that's sad and telling as relates to the state of affairs of the American political system, which is unfortunate.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And,
So next,
and so you know, all of the courting that the Democrats have done for the Latino Hispanic vote, guess where most of them are going to be voting?
Republican.
Yeah. Although Trump referenced sending the rapists and the killers back to Mexico as if some of that is not going on.
Yeah.
You know? And so what we attempt to do is to take real situations and try to minimize them as if they are not happening, as if he was talking about the entire ethnic group from Mexico or wherever. And just look at the movements that this dude made before he got out of office by freeing several Negroes who were facing major sentences, right? So it's gained at a high level, and the Democratic agenda of trying to make him look bad has now turned against him.
So let me ask you really quickly. You said that Trump, you say he was or he is a puppet for the Democrat Party. He
initially was.
Okay.
I think he's on road at this point, but initially his role was to garner the Republican nomination and be so vile and despicable that it would force people to now roll with Hillary Clinton.
Right.
They made two calculated errors. First, they put Bernie Sanders in, although they knew they were going to give Hillary Clinton the nod. they put Bernie Sanders in the race to make it appear that they weren't just going to hand her the nomination. So they had to create the illusion that it was competition.
Yeah.
Well, that did not work well for them at all, because Bernie Sanders started doing what? Promising all these ignorant ass people that everything is going to be free. Goddamn college is going to be free. You're going to be able to stay somewhere for free. Your electricity bill is going to be free. We're going to pay you $95,000 a year. You know, you're going to be able to go on cruises every other goddamn month. I mean, he messed it up for the Democrats. And so now she was already crippled with that and the negativity coming from Benghazi. And now Trump was supposed to be the just hardcore. But Trump's appeal was just being perceptively transparent, although we know he's lying as well. But it appealed to the core values of white America.
So you think Trump realized that he tapped into something, and that something was quite large as it relates to numbers and votes, and then he just said, "The hell with it, I'm going to go my way." You think that's what happened?
Exactly. Yeah. He went off the script.
Yeah.
Because look, man, Trump is a goddamn Democrat. Yeah. And going back again, if you live long enough, you got history on your side. You go back. He said it on an actual video. If I were to ever run for president, I would run as a Republican. He said, because the people, they so dumb. Yeah. You can tell them whatever you want to tell them.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the case, but if they're a Democrat either. So
exactly.
If that's not the case, yeah. So going back to the clip, next question, governments lie. Why do you think governments lie?
Why do politicians lie?
I'll say that, yeah. Why do politicians lie?
Politicians lie because they are all a part of the individual hustle, and they can't tell you the truth that it's all a hustle, because if you learn the truth, then they won't be able to make their money while they're in office. They won't be able to, get whatever things they want to get for free, or whatever jobs or contracts they're trying to hustle up on. So they have to lie to the people and keep the people ignorant, because again, if the people ever learn that they really do have the power, then now you got to share, and they don't want to have to share.
Yeah.
The Negro politicians lie in most instances just by default. They're just stupid. Most of them don't even. They don't have anything set up to make anything. Some of them are happy just to be in a position to go out and eat for free and be recognized. But most of them just, are stupid. But at the end of the day, the majority of the politicians lie because they do not want grassroots people, regular people, to learn the game and how to plug in.
And you say that the majority of the Black ones are stupid because they don't understand how this thing works. Is that why you say that?
And don't want to care to learn.
Yeah.
They just want to get in the position. They don't have any idea. The majority of Negroes, let me break it down like this. The majority of these people have never been in corporate America. The majority of these people don't own businesses. The majority of these people have never done any advocacy work, activism work. They've never done anything. And so they don't even know what to do if they're elected.
Yeah.
And so you don't have agenda, you don't have vision, you don't have skills, you don't have expertise, you don't have education. You damn sure ain't got no courage, even if you don't have any of those things. You don't have any courage to speak up because you're scared to lose whatever little bit that you have. There is no battle testing that has gone on. So now they get into the position and they go along with the lie.
Yeah.
They go along with the game. And for some reason that in their minds, they believe that they're doing something noble and good by like going along with white supremacy.
Right. Right. It's like they don't want to, like you said, they want to hold on to what little they think they have. They're not willing to really learn how things work to really benefit the people that they're supposed to be representing, which is a serious problem. I want to ask you quickly about this picture that we've talked about a lot. Why is this picture so important as relates to politicians lying and people not wanting to learn and or review the truth? Why is this picture so important?
Because it answers the question even more so that you just asked, why is it a gangster game? All four of those factions, which are controlled by the masters, you'll never see the amateurs directly talking to the masters. See, the amateurs go through the intermediaries, and the intermediaries deal with the professionals. Mm-hmm. You see, and the professionals are all controlled by the masters. So this is how the infrastructure is set in place, and this is what controls public policy at the local, state, national, and international level. And because let me give you a prime example. I was reading this sister's article. Her name is Derica Purnell, and the article says why Derica Purnell went from police reformist to abolitionist. And so she says it's so we can get more free. And I'm gonna send this to you, but it is such a, just idealistic deal. But listen to this. He says, you had initially rejected the idea of abolition and you saw it as utopic. When did you change your mind? There wasn't one specific aha moment. Over time, I noticed a lot of reforms were getting adopted and people continued to die. This sister's a lawyer and writer, and she really believes that she understands, but she doesn't. Mm-hmm. She says here, I was just very lucky to be around people, especially when I got to law school, who were thinking about police differently than what I had originally thought. I was part of a student movement, and in 2016, we started doing political education. We came up with the syllabus and started reading together. And once we started reading together, we were like, oh, okay, this is what abolition means. This is what it means to move for decolonization. This is what it means to be anti-capitalist. Now, she ain't a business person. She doesn't even understand capitalism. She believes that the problem is law enforcement. Yeah. And just like the masters control the amateur gangsters in that,
that's right.
The masters control the law enforcement.
That's right.
So while capitalism is an issue, it's not the problem, because what do I always tell you? Inside of capitalism, you have what? The African system of what? Free enterprise.
Free enterprise. Yes, sir.
So this sister is being celebrated for her feministic rhetoric. And I read this and it's like, yeah, damn, y'all don't understand this at all. So they want to, listen to this now. Hold on, let me read you what she say now. So you can get this. This is the craziest thing I've ever, and of course you know who her hero is, Angela Davis. Which is a joke. I mean, I know that's even though she's from Alabama, that is Naru's homegirl out there in California. But all of this socialistic, communistic rhetoric, none of this is None of this is real. It's just idealism. And the whole concept is we're going to complain our way to, we want to eradicate now police now. We want to eradicate police. And then when the question is asked, you also write about the fact that within the abolition movement, there aren't always easy, straightforward answers to questions like, what about the murderers and what about the rapists? When did you start feeling the need to have all those answers? Now, this chick is going at a major political issue of law enforcement, but she's only dealing with it from a very minute level of the crimes that law enforcement commit against primarily white folk, but is promoted as being specifically about African descendants. For more white folks are killed by law enforcement each year than African descendants. But they've blown this thing up and say, to hell with the fact that over 10,000 African descendants are murdered each year by each other, and these children are getting raped and all this. Look at what she said. After I became a lawyer, I realized there's three kinds of groups that I largely am in conversation with about abolition. The first group of people are who are antagonistic to abolition. When they ask me, what about the murderers? What about sexual violence? They aren't really asking because they care about what I have to say. They're trying to give me a gotcha question. So I had to realize, Eureka, I don't think your time and interest is best served arguing with people who are committed to expanding the institution of police. This is a person, they want to eliminate police.
Yeah.
Eliminate law enforcement. So the gangsters.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This is how naive our people are, because they don't know how to connect the dots. And so they're one-dimensional in their thought process. So they're looking at police in a negative way, and it has never dawned on them, somebody. It ain't never dawned on them. Why don't we just try to take over the local?
Exactly. Why don't we become the police?
Exactly.
Too much work. Too much work.
But you'll sit and idealize, fantasize, and romanticize. But so now when somebody asks the question, well, what about the goddamn murder? What about the rapist? Oh, I ain't got time to answer that. You just being antagonistic.
That's a gotcha question. No, that's a real question.
That's a real question.
That's a real question. So what is the impact on the masses when politicians repeatedly lie to the people? What's the impact on the masses when this happens?
The people, you increase the ignorance level.
Yeah.
You increase the apathy level. You increase the pessimism level, and you increase the sarcasm level. Yeah. And so now you put these individuals into a state of paralysis.
Yeah.
And which this is done on purpose to now what? Discourage and dissuade you from exercising what? Your power.
Your power, your right to vote. Yeah. 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 It's such a simplistically masterful move that it's like you just said, instead of complaining about what bad police do, how about mobilizing and organizing to become the police? Instead of complaining about what government isn't doing, how about you mobilize, organize to be the government and or run it? You know, it's like, and all that energy they put into complaining and talking about, hell, if you put half of that into mobilizing and organizing, you wouldn't have to complain so much because you can fix the problems.
Hey, brother, it is absolutely crazy. You got Angela Davis here. She says you should read a book like Angela Davis, Are Prisons Obsolete and Abolition Democracy? And Angela Davis is still to this day, she considers herself a communist. Now, the funniest thing about this, ain't none of that ever worked in any of the white countries that helped. Anyway. It ain't never worked.
Yep.
They're still pushing a theoretical concept that ain't never worked. But even when you go to socialistic countries, communistic countries, guess who is on the bottom? And every goddamn system.
Grassroots people.
The grassroots people, in particular, grassroots African
descendants. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's funny. I'm listening to a book now about the rise of China, and they're talking about how Mao Zedong came to power, and the many mistakes that he made. He was good on the military side, but when it came to running government, he failed miserably. Exactly. And I immediately thought about the Panthers. Chairman Mao didn't realize, and I don't know how you not realize he's not doing too well. His system of government isn't working. But for whatever, and as we've discussed, they never look at the Black people who were doing well in governments, the political systems that we control. It's like we never look to ourselves for answers. And if that don't highlight our belief in the fact that we are inferior, accepting the white man's myth of Black inferiority, I don't know what does, because to always look to other people for answers and solutions and not to look to your own people, that's a problem.
Look, as all of these murders are piling up throughout America, and my ex-wife called me yesterday, and there were 3 individuals murdered in her town of Bastrop, Louisiana, a town of less than 11,000 people. So 3 teenagers were murdered. One of the guys who did the killing is the brother of one of the guys. He killed his own brother and 2 teenagers. Yeah. Wow. And it was over $100 belt and $50 shoes. Wow. Now, that's the surface level. But when you're in the hood, anything like that, it's really not about the belt and it's not about the shoes. It's all about so-called respect, right?
Yep.
So today, in the same town, a son and a father were having a fight. The son gets in the car and he runs over and kills his dad. So 4 murders in less than 24 hours. And in less than 2 years, a town of less than 11,000 has had now over 20 homicides. And the way that they evaluate, the FBI tells you that you are a decent, fairly decent city when it comes to murder. They look at this based on a per capita 100,000 citizen benchmark, and they say per 100,000, you shouldn't have no more than 7 murders per year.
Is that all?
Yeah. So think about it. Now, Shreveport, we had damn near 100 last year, and we were right under 200,000. Wow. So now, why do I mention this in relationship to what you just said? I have been promoting my 6 pillars of empowerment for 27 years. And it always gets back to spirituality and right culture. Organic culture for us because it's our native aspect, but right culture for everybody else who has to follow behind us. And do you know people still like, but man, what's the solution? And I'm like, if you don't have spirituality and right culture, you cannot transform your mind and your spirit to go from negativity and unrighteous behavior to positivity and righteous behavior. So there's nothing that a damn police can do when a brother decides to kill his brother and two other individuals. There's nothing that the police can do when a son and a dad gets into it and he decides to run over. You see, there's nothing that the law enforcement can do when a female decides to set up her boyfriend with a new boyfriend and have him killed and jacked for his money. There's a movie that Tom Cruise did called The Minority Report.
Yes, sir.
And I've already come up with the concept, again, almost 30 years ago. I was like, the only way that you can reduce, prevent, or eliminate crime is to get into the mind of a potential criminal before he or she commits the crime and show them a different way. If you don't transform their mind and spirit and show them a different way of resolving their conflict, of not getting into conflict, you're not going to stop whatever irrational, emotional decision, unenlightened decision this person is going to make. And so now the people are seeing more. There was another so-called mass shooting today. But I told you, sent you that article, mass shootings are supposed to be 4 deaths plus. But it should be called mass murder versus mass shooting, because there's a little chaos and confusion. So based on the hypocrisy and the lying of politicians and the fact that they don't know what they're doing, more people at the bottom are becoming more emboldened. More people who are emotionally unstable are becoming more emboldened. And you're seeing them take this thing out on defenseless people who don't even have a clue as they go into a supermarket and end up getting shot down. And then a damn thing that can be done about it.
Okay, so if you missed the beginning of the show, you're listening to and watching The Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America, Africa, and the diaspora. Tonight's show is our 85th episode and is titled The Gangster Game of Governmental Politics. The Gangster Game of Governmental Politics. My name is Tamani Mwandani. I'm the founder of the Black Gold Nation, and I'm the host. My co-host is Brother Craig B. Lee, who is the chief consultant of the Black Gold Nation's Political Strategy and Implementation Department, as well as our Adult Education Division. Okay, Brother Craig, next question. Aside from shows like this one, The Revolutionary Code, and our bi-weekly movie review, Cinematic Connections for Revolutionary Change, how can people prepare themselves to know when politicians are in fact lying?
I mean, that's just like asking, how can people lose weight without doing push-ups, sit-ups? How can people lose weight without, proper nutrition? I mean, you gotta invest time, effort, and energy into learning. And you're not gonna learn this on your own. I mean, it's too much. It's too complex. I mean, you can go to your local city council meetings and your county parish commission meetings and school board meetings, but brother, if you don't have somebody who is in the mix with this, who knows the deception, the corrupt practices behind the scenes, there's no way you would ever be able to learn. So you have to, just like anything else, you would have to submit yourself to and be willing to learn from people who know, and then go through the process and the regimen of coming into the premise of how they learn.
You're not going to get this picture through osmosis.
No. You wouldn't even see how any of that connect.
Right, at all. And you wouldn't even think that there would be a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that show we did maybe a few years ago at this point, talking about Allen Iverson and how he views practice as opposed to how Michael Jordan and LeBron James view practice.
Exactly.
You know, in the game is not a game because I practiced that game already.
Exactly.
So if we don't get into the habit of quote unquote practicing, which is what you just said, taking time to learn and study, you'll never know when they're lying to you.
At all, brother, because for goddamn show, they practice, brother.
Yeah.
You know, and they're practicing right now through redistricting efforts throughout the country. We're dealing with it. Y'all are dealing with it in Houston.
Yep.
Everybody's dealing with it throughout the country. And Tamani, if you just sat and thought about it, if voting wasn't important,
come on.
why would they go?
Why would they try so hard to keep you from doing it? and I love what you say, Craig. What you say, which goes back to practice. You say often the system, and I don't like the curse, but I'm gonna quote you on this one. The system will recalibrate on your ass. so if you're not about practice, then how you gonna know? A, how you gonna know when they're lying, and B, how you gonna know when they recalibrate?
You know, one of the shows that I love watching is First 48. I love First 48 because I love when they go into the interrogation room.
That's right.
I love to see humans lie.
Yeah.
And it takes me back to the movie Menace to Society.
Like, you just fucked up, right? You just fucked up. That's a classic scene, man. It's a classic scene.
You said you was at such and such at such and such time. And he said that you was at such and such at such and such time. You know you done fucked up, right?
That's right. Gotcha. Checkmate.
Bro, this is why I post so many different case analysis for people to see how diabolical and unenlightened and unconscious so-called human can be.
Yeah.
Because you're not exposed to how these people lie, especially when they have on suits and dresses and they are fraternity members and sorority members and judges, and so it's like, and they're Christians and they're Muslims, and surely they don't lie.
Yeah. And what we fail to remember is that they're just people. They're just people. Yeah. Okay. And that goes to the next question, because they're just people who are elected to run the government. They're just people. So my next question to you, Brother Craig, is how do you define government?
I would define government as a system of individuals who are responsible for the upkeep, maintenance, and expansion of their society. The policies, the regulations, the infrastructure, those individuals who are responsible for ensuring that whatever ethnic group or group of people, they're not just one ethnic group, that which will ensure their advancement, their empowerment into the future. And that's where the socioeconomic aspect of the 6 pillars of empowerment really come in, because now you're dealing with individuals who have to figure out how to improve or establish public transportation, public health, public education, all of these various things that will impact all of the individuals who are citizens within that landmass. And so that's how define government. But I mean, all of it is people.
Yeah.
It's just what people are going to be in place. I think for me, I would put an adjective on government and say define it as righteous government or an empowered government versus just government in and of itself, because that's why we start the 6 pillars of empowerment off with spirituality and right culture, organic right culture, because if you as an individual don't embrace unlock, unleash, and activate your third eye in order to unlock, unleash, and activate your spirituality, now you're never going to have a cultural construct that is righteous, and therefore whatever your occupation is, your involvement in whatever institution in the world that you live, you're never going to really be focused on doing things for the benefit of the masses versus yourself and your little clique. You see, so I would put an adjective of righteous government on that, and that's what my pursuit is, to establish this grassroots empowerment infrastructure at the local level, which really has never existed in world history, even in Africa. Because most grassroots people they are not as interested in learning and how to help their tribe, their village, their community advance and empower in the game of life. And you got to have people who are willing to look at the macro construct in order to do that.
So if our pursuit is the creation of righteous government via the coming together of righteous individuals, if we're calling our construct righteous government, what are we calling this other one? Just government or something else?
It's unrighteous government.
Unrighteous government. Okay, so and that goes to my next question. How is unrighteous government used against us? How is unrighteous government used against us? And how do we flip and or restructure that to become righteous government to be used in our favor? How is unrighteous used against us? How we flip? Go ahead.
That's a real good question. So you look at unrighteous government and you say, okay, well, what makes it unrighteous? So now we're going to look at the policies or the philosophies that will be used by the architects, engineers, or the leaders of that government. And that's going to determine whether it's righteous or unrighteous. So if we have a philosophy where we have an economic system like capitalism that is predicated on the creation, maintenance, and expansion of a permanent underclass, we now know that system is what? Unrighteous. We know that government is unrighteous. So by having that unrighteous government that has a unrighteous economic and political system that is rooted in the perpetual oppression of grassroots people, regardless of ethnicity. And of course, we are the #1 targets, but it goes after all of the individuals. How does that affect us? Hell, it affects us from a legacy standpoint. You can't ever pass on any form of financial advancement to your future generation. It impacts your health and wellness because you're constantly stressed out on a daily goddamn basis, barely able to make enough money to cover. And you can see right now the games that's being played just with gas. I think gas out in California now, Route 9 is what, $75 a gallon?
Yeah, it's up there.
Down here, goddamn it, it's $20 a gallon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so now you already had limited resources, and you're going to have more limited resources based on the increased cost of damn food, of damn petrol.
Yep.
So now you say, well, why don't you just go on and get an electric car? God damn it, I'm broke. How am I gonna get a goddamn electric car?
That's
I barely got a regular car. Get the goddamn tag on the goddamn car.
Right.
So by having an unrighteous system, okay, you now see an unrighteous government.
Yep.
And so that now impacts every goddamn thing. And then you can forget about, and this is why the vast majority of people will never tap in to their life's purpose, because they're too goddamn busy trying to work to pay bills.
That's right.
And I know, hell, for myself, I look at these goddamn bills, I say, God damn, I just paid this bill.
And it's back again.
It's back again, yeah.
Clockwork, baby. Yeah.
Okay. And so an unrighteous government has unrighteous policy, unrighteous procedures that now keep the masses of people at a complete disadvantage, and that's how they're able to, exist in all of these big homes and live the life of, a boss, so to speak, while everybody else is struggling and wanting to emulate that, because it's all about whether or not you're going to be willing to share.
Yeah. I know your perspective on religion or religiosity. But do you think it plays a role, probably a very significant role, for those persons who don't, well, I guess I should say, to a certain extent, it plays a significant role to those persons who don't either want to take time to study and learn, or who are too caught up in the matrix of life to take time to realize their purpose? You think religion can be used to keep people on a certain path so that they don't lose their minds and go crazy? Religion plays a role to keep people, especially when it comes to people who may not have, particular groups may not have spirituality at all. For those groups, religion might be a good thing, because religion can keep a people in line if they believe that there are repercussions and ramifications on a forever level if I do bad things.
And that's a very good question. And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. Although I divorced myself from religiosity 38 years ago this coming November. I started out just like the majority of people the majority of African descendants in this country, in a Christian environment under the denomination of Baptist.
Right. But you've always been different.
Yeah. I mean, for the most.
So because you were always different, that religious path was probably never going to work for you anyway.
Yeah, well, that's true. But where I'm going with it is to answer your question, because I see how religiosity establishes some degree of ethics and moral.
There you go. Yeah.
For the vast majority of people, where they would at least consider, like, man, this is not a good thing for me to try to kill this person or rob this person or rape this person. They'll probably do the drugs or the alcohol, something simple. Yeah. But when it comes to these major things, their religion would keep them from that. And so I definitely agree with that. That's why you'll never see me or hear me just totally annihilate religiosity. And that's why over these past few years that you and I have been rocking and rolling, that's why I say, bro, I'm not gonna engage religious people and be on some destructive mission to annihilate them, because we can still get a percentage of their disposable income
every day. Yes, sir.
A percentage of their votes.
That's right.
A percentage of their intellectual on capital, whether it be their labor and or idea, and we can get them to positively promote our programs, projects, and business ventures.
That's right.
And then we just put all of the resources in our hand and we'll do the work. And as long as you've made that investment, I don't give a damn what your religion is.
We allies.
Because I know without that religion, bro, these young people out of here, this is why there's no thought. There's no religious foundation, for damn sure ain't no spiritual foundation going on. So yeah, I would always say, give me a pork chop eating ass.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Over a pseudo woke Negro who gonna philosophize every goddamn day and don't do nothing.
That's right.
None of these sports, like we have several youth athletic organizations in Shreveport, Caddo, because you know youth athletics is huge throughout the country.
Sure.
Ain't the Nation of Islam ain't got a squad.
Right. That's right.
Ain't none of these punk ass, pseudo woke ass Negroes got no squad.
Yeah.
All of them pork chop, ham hock eating ass Christian.
Yeah.
And I'd rather deal with them. I'd rather deal with them than deal with a lot of these wannabe pseudo-intellectual romantic revolutionaries damn near any day.
That's right.
Because most of them ain't gonna do a goddamn thing.
But talk. Okay, next question. So what's the pathway to righteous government? How do we get there?
The pathway is what we're doing right now in Shreveport and what we're doing in Houston. And that is the mobilization and organization, education, and activation of righteous brothers and sisters, where we now start to take over spaces. Now, of course, in Houston, we're only talking about a few seats to get into position to leverage certain things. Here in Shreveport, we're talking about taking over the whole government because we're 60%
That's right.
of the population.
Yep.
So the pathway is to now create the physical prototype with just one or two people who rock and roll with the same political identity under the political agenda of PAID, the Political Advocates for Independent Democracy, because we ain't gonna be no damn Democrats or no Republicans.
That's right.
We're independent, and we're here to teach our people to get how to get paid. And so we now establish that in these spaces, and now we take over the government piece by piece, and now learn that government. And this gets back to what you said earlier when you announced the shrine in 1963.
53.
A system within a system.
Yep.
You got to at least learn how the system that you're going to create, how that works from the inside the system.
Yes, sir.
So you know how the sanitation department works.
For real.
Water department works.
Yep.
You got to know how all of these tax, the property tax assessors department work, the clerk of court, right?
Yeah.
You got to know all of these things in order to set up your separate government.
Right. And you know what's funny about that, Craig, is like you hear people talk about all the time, Black people talk about how we need to separate, do our own thing, nation within a nation, blah, blah, blah. But we never take seriously the task of learning how to run a government.
Exactly, bro.
You know, we talk about separating, do our own thing, have our own city, raising our own money, blah, 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 blah. But we never think, how we gonna run this?
Brother, if you really are going to separate, you won't be able to use the dollar bill.
Yeah.
You got to now have your own currency. See, this is why all of this is idealism. This is why I reached out to the sister today, because sister, you're an attorney, but you're talking idealistic, but you really believe that you're saying some major things.
Yeah, and you know she got some followers.
Yeah. So now you're talking about they're not using the term abolition to now try to take out the police department, take out law enforcement.
She's not saying reform. She's just saying take out and do away with.
He moved away from the position of reform.
So what? So where the criminals? So what are criminals gonna do?
They don't want to answer that question because you're an antagonist. You see, so this is the idealism. In essence,
Wow.
fuck with my thoughts because you're a hater and I just want to be in la la land, right? But those are real questions.
Yeah.
You got to know how the police department operates. You got to know how the sheriff department operates. You got to know how the marshal department operates. You got to know how the coroner department operates. You see, but you got all of these governmental departments and agencies, okay? You got departments underneath the city, departments underneath each county or parish, departments underneath the school board, and then you got other boards outside of those goddamn agencies and departments.
And those boards run a lot, and those bitches are appointed.
They're appointed, and they help set policy
Yes,
for the elected officials. So this is not anything that you just up and do.
it's a web. It's a web of interconnectedness. It is crazy.
Exactly. And so we gotta first get grassroots people just willing to want to learn.
Yeah.
And to just believing that something positive can happen, but you got to be willing to put in some goddamn work.
That's right.
And as I was the dude at the meeting, he said, "Yeah, we gotta pay people to volunteer." I say, "No, sir. You can't pay people to volunteer.
Yeah.
You can't see that. Your communities will never get. That's why people in the Negro community would sit back and say, hey man, let's pick up this trash or let's help Miss such and such with her yard. How much you gonna pay?"
Exactly. Exactly.
This is where we're at
Exactly.
in just 48 years of this punk ass experiment that Martin Luther King thrust us into.
Yep.
With their desire to be integrated into this system.
Yeah.
And we have regressed so far from where we were at back in 1964 and 1954 and 1944. I mean, because now, you know, back then we were under the threat of murder and rape from the Klan, but now you're under the threat from the Negro savage.
Yes,
And the
sir.
goddamn.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, brother. Last question. You get one takeaway from everything we've discussed tonight to ensure that those that are watching with us live and those that watch the recording, they will have this one takeaway with them for the rest of their lives based on what we've discussed tonight. So, Brother Craig, what would that one takeaway be?
I was asked by Africa Price, he used to be the editor of the Shreveport Times in 2010. He said, "So Craig, you've now become a politician." And I say, "No, I'm a corporate grassroots revolutionary in politics."
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Well, that's the same thing." I say, "No."
Oh,
She
no,
said,
not
"Well,"
at all. Yeah.
I say, "Politicians lie and grassroots advocates don't." So today's focus was centered around politicians lying, and this is what they do.
Yep.
They lie, they deny, they deflect, they discourage, they dissuade. When you are a grassroots advocate or a grassroots activists, your agenda is about being transparent. That doesn't mean that you say every single thing that needs to be said at every given moment, because you got to have wisdom and discretion. But at the end of the day, I want people to take away that reality, that politicians lie and grassroots activists do not. If you are really in this game to be an advocate for grassroots people.
That's right.
You're in the political game, but your job is not to do what politicians do.
Right.
Your job is to make governmental policy work for the benefit of grassroots people.
Right, because you're not a politician, you're a political advocate, and there's a big difference. All right, cool. That concludes tonight's show. We're going to open this thing up for Q&A. Brother Naru has turned his camera on, which is the beginning of Q&A. So Brother Naru, question or comment for Brother Craig?
Oh yeah, quick comment and then a question. So you were talking about religion earlier, and I find religion to be more or less about morality and more fear-based and more than in love. People fear punishment and bad karma, and they don't really do it because they're good people. To me, it seems like they're just afraid that they're going to have a punishment when they leave this planet or this earth or this body or whatever. I just wanted to know what you thought about that, and then I'll do my next question after that.
I definitely agree with that, Naru, but that fear establishes a and sometimes serious focus into ethics and immorality. But I do agree with you. The main reason that most of them practice the religion after they've been indoctrinated is based on the fear. And it's funny because one of the questions that I'm asked when I do workshops is, what is my religion? Mm-hmm. And when I tell them I don't have religion, they're like, well, what's going to happen to you when you die? I said, what do you mean? It's like, you don't want to know that you're going to heaven? And I say, well, brother, this is real simple. I say, no person who has ever lived has died and come back and given any damn report on this concept of heaven and hell. I say, so I don't even focus on that concept. But what I will say to this, if there is a place where good spirits, good entities go, the work that I do will speak for me. So I ain't got to be perplexed about where my spirit, where my energy will go, because I just focus on doing the right thing every day. I don't get in people's way to try to hate or discourage them from doing anything positive. And so I don't even focus on those concepts. But you're absolutely correct, Naru, that fear is why most of them continue to rock, but it does trigger some sense of ethics and morality in them, because these young folks, without any fear and a warped mind that's being, laid out with the toxic rap, the toxic video games, the toxic drugs, you ain't got no foundation to rock and roll on. So,
that's true.
I do agree with you.
Yeah, that's real. The fear can make people act right. All right. So my other question was, earlier you said you ran for office a couple of times, and I was wondering what age you were when you did that, and what office is you ran for, and then what was the outcome of those campaigns?
So I'm now about to be 55 the week after this year's election on November the 8th. So I've run 3 times before, all for city council. I'm not even trying to run for any other office. There's a method to the madness. So this is city council again. I migrated into this district in 2002 after we helped to get this district redistricted to become a majority African-American district in 2000. The brother who I was supporting at that time, Gerald Wills, who was from this district, who was a native of this district, he was an employee, so he couldn't really get engaged. So since my notoriety covers the entire city, although I'm an outlaw, I knew I could move over here and ultimately get in the mix to actually rocking and rolling and running. I was first supposed to run in 2006, but me and my first wife, we had just finished up going through Hurricane Katrina, rescued, and she had surgery in 2005. So I didn't want to put her through that process in 2006. So I began in 2010, just as a getting my feet wet type situation, because I was still trying to figure out how to do meat pies and run for office and all of this. And so this is where I encountered, being an independent, Nauru, the unconscious evil of the Democratic Negro Party. And so in 2010, all of these cats here fear me because they really do know when we win, I will really help the FBI and the CIA to lock most of these Negroes up.
Oh boy.
I put their fucking ass in jail, bro. I'm just being honest. So they know I'm not a part of their corruption. They know I'm not a part of their Democratic Party. So they put this classmate of mine from childhood, who is now city judge, and this is why you better make sure when you're an outlaw, Nauru, you better make sure you don't screw up at all. Because if I ever came in the court, even though she's a city judge, in front of Shiva Sam, bro, if she could sentence me to the death penalty, goddamn it, she would do it, even though she over tickets and shit, right? So they put her against me, and all of the preachers were backing her because she was sleeping with her preacher where she was the minister of music at. And so it was a coordinated effort to shut me down then. I finished that race, I think I finished third behind her and a couple other females. In 2014, I was just rebounding from cancer in 2013. I was actually still going through my rehabilitation because I finished treatment November of 2013. So 2014, again, just keeping my name out, wasn't trying to really win. And so I increased my percentages, but at that point, they put another classmate, childhood classmate of mine, Lynn Cawthorn, in the race to run against me. He was a Republican who switched over to Democrat, came out of New Orleans. And again, the Democrats rocked and rolled in that situation to stop me because I'm not a part of the corruption. He now, he and his sister just reported, and I'll send you the article, they just reported to federal prison for stealing goddamn lunch money from Black children through the federal government.
Oh, literally stealing lunch money. Damn.
Oh, yes, yes,
sir. a lot of it.
Wow.
Feeding program, brother. Feeding program. And so they're going to jail now for almost 4 years. And so the Democrats backed him because I'm not a part, again, of that infrastructure. That was in 2014. And so Then that brings us to 2018. And so they know, there's no other better candidate in America in any goddamn city. But in 2018, they courted me to switch.
Craig, you're muted.
Okay, somebody was my bad. But I told them that I was never going to switch from being an independent to being a Democrat. You all were going to vote. You all were going to learn to vote for the best candidate. Now, at that time, I thought I was ready to rock and roll. But my cousin's dad died. I became her power of attorney. I had to help take care of my mom. At that time, I was married to my second wife, who was school board representative in Bastrop, Louisiana. So I was helping her campaign, helping her raise her children, dealing with my campaign. And then I had the Democrats against me. So they supported this sellout Uncle Tom Negro female named Levette Fuller, who is in the seat right now. And so what I learned, Naru, at that point, I finished 4th in that race behind her, this white Democrat, because both of them are Democrats, and this white Republican, but I finished ahead of this Libertarian. And what I learned, Naru, for 2020, all the gloves come off. I mean, the Democrats need to be destroyed in every African-American community throughout America, because it's nothing but a game. And so what happens when these people go into that booth, they just pull blue or they pull red. They don't care about no qualifications. So you got to go through your roster of registered voters, and you got to get 6,000 to 8,000 to be committed to voting in the primary. And you get 90% of those people, you win the race. And this is where we're about to go as we launch next week. And finally, to your point, I was going to do a physical launch next Tuesday, but because I want you guys to be a part of this, we're going to do a virtual launch. I want Shannon, you, Brother Tamani, my Houston folks, and my other Xavier folks, and Brother Mike, and other people to be a part. So we're going to do a virtual launch next week as we launch the campaign. So that's where we're at this stage in the ball game as we move forward. All I'm going to do, Naru, is lock city council down, preferably 2 terms, and then lock the mayor seat down. And then I would have accomplished my mission and put in the infrastructure in place.
So one more question while we get into that. So do you have a plan B if that doesn't happen? Like, do you have a candidate that might not be as scary as you, that you feel like you could put into place and still control somewhat from behind the scenes? None of that's happening. You don't have that.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the thing is, Naru, to do all of this, it's just like E.F. Hutton. You got to do this one entity at a time. And it's just like to find someone that, even has 10% of my intellect, skills, and whatnot, and can articulate and still be kind of sort of a corporate entity. Because the challenge is still going to be when you're independent. You see what I'm saying? And that is a calculated move. I'm never going to switch to the Democratic deal, because if you switch and you trick them, you're actually going to get more hate at that point than you would if you just go ahead and run as an independent and then earn the votes. Because then you can still deal with them kind of sort of as an ally. But if you get in and flip the script on them, now you make enemies, not only locally, but at the state and the federal level. So this is a calculated move, but I got to grow the individuals in different districts. And that's why you got to leverage the money, status, and materialism so that we can groom some of these candidates in order to get into this game. But they got to learn how to be a corporate grassroots revolutionary, culture, social entrepreneur. It's just a lot that they will have to learn in order to do that.
Thank you very much.
Which goes to the importance of why we absolutely must have a youth program.
Yeah.
So we can start early because there's so much learning to be done. For sure. Okay, thank you, Brother Naru. Anyone else have a question or comment for Brother Craig? Question or comments going once, going twice?
I don't really have a question. I was just going to say, once we as a people understand that the government is a business, it's a corporation, then we might understand how to move and do things a little bit better. But we still think they're for the people, and that's not necessarily the truth. They are
Amen.
a corporation. They are a business.
Yeah.
And we are their property according to them. So, yeah.
Exactly. And Shannon, to your point, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because as we are articulating already to various entities, there's a skit that we have in our conversation. Our talking points get to that point, showing our people how to chase the bag. And we're showing them that this is a corporation and there are millions and billions of dollars at stake. And so I'm in the process of framing my message as we articulate in the streets and on the phone to your very point, because you got to appeal to them based on things that they want and desire while still keeping it in a substantive manner. Because they really don't understand that this is a business that's going on, and it's the control of tax revenues. And in order for those tax revenues to be distributed in an equitable fashion, your political team, people who think like you, got to be making the goddamn decision. You cannot expect evil people to make equitable decisions for you. You got to be able to be a part of a team. And since most people are scared, I just tell them, give us a percentage of your disposable income, give us a percentage of your vote, give us a percentage of your intellectual capital, your labor and or idea, and just positively promote our businesses, projects, and programs. We'll do the rest. Because with that, now I can do what Naru just asked me, recruit. Now I can maneuver and now train. And we'll take on all of the weight. We'll take on the savages. We'll take on the Klan. We'll take on all of those entities. You know, but you're not going to get the white supremacists, the Klan, to just get off of money to help the grassroots just because they some apple pie, peach cobbler eating ass Christians. That is just not going to happen.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Cool. Anyone else have a question or comment for Brother Craig? I think that was it. Yeah. Okay, Brother Craig, closing comments?
Just again, thanks to everybody for participating. And as we get deeper and deeper into this process, and of course, the agenda that I have, we take over this first seat. I mean, everybody who is a part of BGN, they benefit from what we're doing here in the city of Shreveport. And definitely, as we lock our funds down, I look forward to finally meeting Naru in person and being able to fly him out here when we do our Louisiana Grassroots Empowerment Conference with a focus on anti-violence for youth and overall. And we know that toxic hip hop is going to be confronted and put on center stage. So to be able to have him out and to do business with Tamani and Shannon and other members on the team, I mean, I look forward to making all these things come into play.
Cool. And on that note, always remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always, always, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the empowerment and freedom of Black people, because if Black people don't make it, because we're also Black and we're connected to that group, we're not gonna make it. So with that, you guys have a wonderful evening. God bless, and we will see y'all next Thursday. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.